Today we will talk about AWS global infrastructure. So let me go to the global infrastructure documentation from AWS. Okay, now this is what the first link we will visit. Okay, AWS global infrastructure, it is saying like it is the most secure, extensive and reliable cloud infrastructures having a global presence for all your applications, right? So AWS has 36 launch regions, okay, each with multiple availability zones. So the availability zone count is 114, and we are having 700 plus CloudFront points of presence locations plus 13 regional cache for different business needs, right? Look at the global infrastructures map. So you can see the regions which are okay identified as a green dots. Okay, so Canada Central, then AWS Gulf Cloud, and there is a Hawaii regions. And this Northern Virginia is the region which is the very oldest one, so it was launched in 2006. Okay, now coming to India, we have two regions. One is Hyderabad and one is Mumbai, which is launched in 2016. Okay, now the red dots are nothing but the regions which are coming soon. Okay, so these are all the global maps of AWS you can go into, and then there are 42 local zones and 29 global zones, including 245 countries and territories served and having a 135 direct connect locations. Okay, so moving down, so why cloud infrastructure matters? Because we wanted to have a secure, extensive and reliable cloud infrastructures, and AWS is actually providing that and having a 200 plus services, okay, across your data centers globally. Then yes, this is the reason exactly like why to choose AWS like as a cloud provider, because AWS is a cloud provider which started in 2006, right? Okay. So it is one of the oldest cloud providers we can say, and it still okay stands among okay top cloud providers, okay, globally, and still it is in the number one position. So as per the report of SCPS, it is showing that it is still stands among 14th consecutive years at the top, right? And these are the benefits like security, availability, performance, okay, scalability, flexibility, and having a 36 regions is what a global footprints is all about, right? Yes, so this is about AWS cloud, right? So now let's understand about AWS global infrastructure. So we have already talked like there is a region, so I just want like all of you to understand. Okay, so how it will be demonstrated, right? So if you could see like we have a region. So let's take an example of we have a Mumbai region. So this is your region, and inside the regions you have an availability zones. So we may call it as availability zones. Availability zones are nothing but okay, we can say inside that, so we have a data centers actually. So inside an availability zones we have a data centers. So this is what we can say data centers are, right? So here you can see this, and inside a data center, so if I talk this as a data center, and inside the data centers we have host actually. So this is what a host we call it as. Host is nothing but a hardware, so this we call it as a host hardware, and this host hardware is actually running your virtual machine. So here your virtual machines are getting okay executed, you can say. So this hardware is a fully okay efficient or capacity hardware where you can run let's see hundreds of machines on it, right? And inside of one regions you can have one or maybe two or three availability zones. So at least two it has to be there, okay. And then inside of one easy you can have one or more data centers, right? So presently we are having 3 availability zones per regions, even couple of availability zones couple of regions like North Virginia's will have a 6 availability zones, right? And inside this availability zones actually where there are data centers where you actually create your subnets. So this is what a subnets will be creating, and inside a subnets you try to run okay your virtual machines, that we call it as an EC2 instances, okay. And this is a part of your VPC, that is virtual private cloud, because virtual private cloud is something inside a regions you create some logical containers, you can say. This is your logical container. So logical container, okay, you can say. So you are defining its logical boundary. Actually physically you cannot say like this is a physical boundary, this is a logical boundary, because inside of one region of a Mumbai, let's see, there are multiple customers are having their own VPC, and so you logically launch your resources inside this logical boundary. And if you want this boundary to have a communication with outside world, so there is component one called as IGW, that is Internet Gateway, is responsible to take your traffic to the outside world, right? So this is what you might have. So there are other regions also, like you can say there are regions which you might be having, okay, and this regions will also, okay, having their private networking, okay, with the help of AWS by backbone networking, and these regions are connected with some petabytes of per second speed, and that's what we have a huge bandwidth. So, and there will be a redundant link. Actually there is not only one link, so there will be two links. So if this gets failed, so your traffic will be moving from another region, so that everything will be taken care by AWS. So you don't need to worry about let's see this global infrastructure part. Right now, if you let's come to the AWS global infrastructure page, in which we have seen this components, right? So having regions, availability zones, local zones, WebLane zones and all. So let's go one by one. So let me click on a regions and availability zones, and here we will see there are regions which are listed out as per the let's see, we can say continents, let's see. So North America, South America, okay, so you can see this couple of regions which are mentioned inside of South America, South Polo. Then you have regions inside in Europe section, Middle East, okay, sections, and obviously Africa we have only a Cape Town, okay, this one, okay, so in a 2020. And Asia specific, if you could see that these are the regions in an Asia, so Ninzixia, availability zones 3, and this is what India we are having. Mumbai is the oldest one, and the Hyderabad just launched in 2022. And if you scroll down, so you will see these regions and including its availability zones. Obviously we are having at least 3 availability zones, and maximums you can go up to 6, okay, for a particular regions. And there is one more called as edge locations. Now this is something called as caching the contents, like if there is a origin server which is located in one of the regions, so if there is a traffic which is, okay, occurring okay, from the customer premises, or maybe from let's see okay, in a particular sections of okay, customer organization, so they are not able to access, okay, applications okay, very quickly. So in that case each locations will serve the traffic as fast as possible with the help of low latency, you can say. So that's kind of caching the contents, you can say. And there are regional caches also for frequently accessed data, you can say, right? And this is just for caching, so where you will not be able to run your compute and storage part. And this is what the regions is talking about. It is nothing but a physical locations around the world. Then availability zone is one or more district data centers. We will be having all the things which is redundant, like power, networking and connectivity, as I mentioned earlier. So local zones is something which is giving closer to the end user, so just for providing some low latency applications for the real-time environments. And wavelength zone is something beyond low latency, that we call it as an ultra low latency, but it is for 5G networks, okay, so at the edge of mobile operators networks for AR VR kind of use cases. And then we have an outposts where if you want us like the service to have it and on your own premise, okay, but AWS managed, then you have your servers which are running inside AWS cloud, but in your on-premise locations, having it hosted internally, okay, from AWS. So local zones I was talking, this is nothing but the extension to the region actually, so going more closer. And yes, there are a lot of companies like Netflix, Crunchbase, they are already getting powered with local zones, right? Then we have locations also mentioned here, and yes, obviously, as per the requirements, if you go, so there is also pricing that you'll have to come across, right? Now, let's wavelength zones also. I have told like for your 5G services, you can opt for this wavelength zones at the age of 5G. Okay, then we have AWS regional services and other kind of parameters are there. Okay, now just going to the console, you can see that once you logged in as a root account, so or maybe an IAM user account, so you have something called as a regions that you have to select, and if you select a couple of regions, then you can go to actual services, right? So like clicking on top left corner, so you can go to the compute service, and then you can go with the compute part like EC2. Okay, so this is all about AWS, and to just pull out your resources inside an AWS cloud, so which is one of the oldest cloud provider and have giving the services across the globes, across almost in 36 let's see regions, and which is still getting expanded a lot, so maybe it will be crossing up to 40 regions to have your workloads running globally as and when needed. Okay,